back, everybody, to Awaken the Best You with Mr. Springer. And
Hello.
I am Anna Levine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for another conversation today.
Me too, because this one hits home, I think, not just for myself, I think for a lot of us women. Today we're talking about self-care, is speaking your truth. And this is the very metaphorical type of title that we're giving the show today, but we're going to dive deeper into what it really means to self-care and speaking our truth that we hear a lot these days, sometimes in the self-development world. But it really is life-changing, and this is a process, and there's many layers. So let's begin with self-care. And right, and besides the importance, like, why is it that self-care is something that is a gift to ourselves?
Well, I think self-care is it's an outer representation of an inner belief. And oftentimes, I know for me included, a lot of time, for a lot of years, I thought that self-care meant going and getting a massage, or going and getting my nails done, or even going out running with friends. I love, that's one of my favorite things to do, going outside and going on a walk with friends. And although that is good, that is all well and good, that is the outer manifestation of self-care. And self-care, sometimes, a lot of women that I work with, they want to take care of themselves. They want to start making time to eat better, to exercise, to spend time with friends, to even go get that massage. But the thought of trying to do that when they are so inundated with everything else on their to-do list feels impossible. It feels like, how can this, I'm too busy to make healthy meals. I'm too busy to exercise. I can hardly breathe. How in the world am I going to get out and make time for a massage? So it feels really self-indulgent and almost impossible to participate in self-care activities. And that's because what I've noticed is we need to start making that shift up here first about self-care before we can start shifting into actually doing the self-care.
Yes, because it is true that many of us are busy, and we have, busy schedules, and being a mom and a wife, a friend, a daughter, you name it, right? However, do you feel, because I mean, if I get really honest with myself, there is still some time. We might not have 15 hours a week for self-care, but there is still a few minutes every day that I am able to do something. The real question, I believe, the deeper question is, why is it that we don't actually prioritize our self-care? And
Absolutely.
then, we live a little bit as martyrs, and, well, the whole family depends on me. Are there places that can be delegated? Are there places where I'm not asking, and I'm talking from personal experience, right? Like, that I'm not asking my husband for help because whatever, I feel like I can do it better, or that's my job to do. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons why, right? But I believe that that's a beautiful place to get real with ourselves, and in reaching our truth, which is what we're talking about today, because it's easy to kind of lie to ourselves, and I can't find the word that I want to use, but you know what I mean, like disguise what the real situation is, it's taking place.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, and I think that you spoke to that sometimes we aren't truthful with ourselves. We're living in the story that I don't have time to take care of myself. I'm taking care of everybody else. Which, if you look a little deeper with a lot of the clients that I'm working with, it's like, I don't believe that I'm worth taking the time to take care of myself. And so if I don't believe that I'm worth it, then when I go to make an appointment to, or when I go to eat something, I'm going to choose something that feels like it's convenient, rather than, wow, I really do have time to sit down and take care of myself. And one of the things that I find really fascinating is oftentimes we are really searching for an opportunity to speak our truth. As women, we often feel like our truth is not worth hearing. We feel like it's been pushed down by other people's opinions of us or our own judgments of ourselves. And so we don't allow our truth to be told. And what I have found so incredibly beautiful as I work with the clients that I work with is that as they start to learn how to love and care for themselves, when they start to see themselves as something that's worth taking care of, all sorts of options and life experiences open up. I have a client, and she came to me because she was eating emotionally, and she wanted to have a better relationship with food in her body. And so as we started to take a look at this relationship with food in her body, what we recognized was that she was covering up this feeling of worth, that she didn't feel worth taking care of her. It didn't feel like she was worth it to take care of herself. And as we started to dig a little deeper and do some work around that and started to help her to see herself as the woman she knew in her heart she was meant to be, every time she started to shift that belief, she started taking care of herself differently. So now when she started to choose foods that felt nourishing to her body, she was reinforcing the belief that I'm worth it, that I'm worth taking care of myself. And then as she continued to practice that, it was reinforcing the belief within her, I'm worth it, I'm worth taking care of myself. And all of a sudden she started recognizing, oh my goodness, there's this purpose that I have that I need to fulfill. There's this beautiful dream that I've had that I haven't even given myself permission to look at, that all of a sudden is becoming more real to me. And now she's going after her dreams. She's starting a project in the community that feels enlivening and purposeful to her. She's speaking her truth with her family, with the people that she loves, but most importantly, she started speaking her truth with herself. She started giving herself permission to have the dreams, to go out and start stepping into her purpose in a whole new way. And that's has now reinforced. Now she's like, oh, look at that. I want to take care of myself now. It's not as difficult as it used to be because I see myself as worthwhile. I see myself as somebody that's worth taking care of. And so now I am.
I think this is like speaks volumes to the power of what I try my very best to convey to the audience of working with someone like yourself that can hold that space, you know, of non-judgment and compassion and love for us, so that we can have the courage to change the momentum, because that's what it is. It's like having momentum either one way or the other. So when we're going downhill, we're so used to going downhill. It's like, well, I don't like it, but at least I know it. At least this is known to me. So this is what I do. But in the back of my head or in my heart, I long for, you know, knowing myself on a more intimate level and knowing my purpose and what I'm here to do. I mean, and even as you were speaking, I mean, I can tell you, for example, growing up in South America, you know, in a very strong male household and being so sensitive and so feminine at my core, I had a lot, and I still catch myself with a lot of self-worth. My voice doesn't really count. I'm too sensitive. And yet my line of work is like yours, you know, similar to yours in the sense of like, you know, being very feminine, very compassionate, very emotionally strong, because that's true as well. But that's my work. That's who I am in my core. So can you imagine like the internal conflict between like, ooh, I feel who I am, but it's not really valuable, because my image of what's valuable is this strong masculine energy, which is foreign to me. So very, very interesting stuff. So, and I'm curious, how long, for example, and I know everybody is different, but this client in particular, how long until people can start to reverse, you know, that momentum?
I think it begins with the process of awareness. We can't change what we can't see. So I love the quote by Brene Brown. She said, the only way to write a different ending is to know the story. And that's not exactly her quote, but it's similar to that. But we have to know the story in order to write a different ending. And so part of the process of working together is understanding the stories that you're telling yourself that are keeping you stuck in that downward momentum of the ball rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
Because it's only when we recognize that we're in the ball rolling that we can say, wait a minute, I think I want to do something different. Let me put a foot out and stop this momentum. So it really is about taking a look at those stories, and that can happen for individuals at different times, different paces. Mm-hmm. I've had some clients, I do a deep dive where we go really, it's a beautiful process that I take women through that helps them to identify the beliefs that were formed in childhood, because those beliefs that we had when we were younger are really just there for our protection. They're really just what we've learned to put a little barrier around our heart to keep it from being hurt, just like what you were mentioning. You know, I didn't think that what I had to say mattered. That was just a little barrier that you put around your heart. Be quiet, be still, don't speak out, because if I do, I might get hurt.
Yes.
And so when we start,
I won't be loved, or I
won't be loved, or I won't be, love, safety, and belonging.
Yeah, I mean, and for a child, that's kind of like death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you feel helpless. So
exactly.
It's to the core of who we are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we've reinforced those same patterns and same beliefs over and over and over again, especially when we start to get into places of feeling stressed or attacked. And so putting ourselves out there, speaking our truth in a vulnerable situation that feels like we might be not loved or cast out of the tribe, or we don't belong anymore, that can feel really, really challenging. And so understanding what your story is gives you power to write a different ending. And that's the beautiful part that I'm seeing with my clients, is that, like the client that I was speaking of in particular, when we started working together, she thought she was there to look at food and emotional eating. That was just the doorway into so much more.
Yeah.
What she was really there for, what her body was telling her and communicating with her about, was that she had a purpose that she was denying herself. She was not stepping into her purpose. And so to cover that pain, she was using food to comfort herself.
Yeah, which tells us the simple truth that whenever we actually don't have self-care, or we don't allow ourselves to speak up our truth, it's almost like the most aggressive thing that we can do to ourselves, to our souls. And that's why the title of today's show is the self-care is speaking your truth. And it leads us to getting to know a higher purpose of why we're here. We can't access that unless we are in alignment with our hearts and our spirits. And so it's really fascinating, because it speaks of, at least for myself, of the delicate balance that we are as spirits and human beings, having a human experience, and the importance, in order to gain purpose in life, to access that, is having the courage to look at all these layers of beliefs that we create, and having compassion for ourselves, right? Because we were kids. I mean, we didn't know any better. And so.
And I think that is the beautiful piece, is that nothing is permanent. You know, that's what I love about this process, is that this is not about trying to fix ourselves. This is about becoming aware and becoming a powerful and intentional creator of our life. Because if we're seeing the stories that are stopping us, we're no longer a victim to those stories. We can now choose a different path. And so it's only when we are in this place of trying to numb and hide out, that we're trying to cover up the stories because they feel too painful. That's where the food comes in. Let's cover up this pain of not feeling worthy, not feeling worth it, not feeling like my voice matters. Let's cover it up with food, because that's the only way that I know works. to
Right.
comfort myself.
Which we all know that it doesn't really, it temporarily perhaps work.
Temporarily,
But then we have
right.
two issues, which we still don't know how does that work. And now we're like unhealthy.
And in the guilt cycle, that
Yeah,
failure, that guilt cycle is powerful.
yeah. That's why it's so crucial to do the work and get out of the momentum, right? One way and start going in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
So let's speak before we run out of time, but let's speak about like what does it mean like and what does it look like to speak our truth? Because it's a
Mm-hmm.
very it sounds like a little bit, and I use this term a lot, but I think I want people to really feel what does it look like on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me actually of the conversation that we had about I Am Woman, Hear Me Love.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the episodes that we had a conversation about. Oftentimes women shy away from speaking their truth because they feel like it has to be aggressive and in your face. And that feels like it's incongruent or out of alignment with who they really are. So it's speaking your truth is about learning how to honor your voice, use your voice, but use it in a compassionate, kind, and loving way that feels in alignment with who you are. It's, when you are in a place of speaking your truth, it may not feel comfortable, but it doesn't feel aggressive. I think that that's the difference. It feels like, yes, I'm going to speak what I know is true for me. I love you. I appreciate your opinion. I appreciate what you have to say. And my truth is valid also. And I would like to share it with you as well. I just right before this recording had a conversation with a client where we were navigating that relationship with her sister. And it was just about, I love you. You are a huge and important part of my life. I value your opinion, and I value my own opinion as well. I think sometimes as women, we take our thoughts and our truth and we put it underneath somebody else's. And we
Yes.
say it doesn't need to be said, it doesn't need to be heard. I'll just keep the peace by not saying anything at all.
Yes. Yes.
And it feels like either I am speaking my truth and being really aggressive and loud and in your face, or I'm being demure and passive and not speaking my truth.
Yes.
And what I want to communicate, and something that I work with my clients on a lot, is it doesn't have to be either or. It can be, yes, your truth is important and my truth is important at the same time.
Yes. And there can be multiple truths because really truth is actually subjective in a way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's another conversation, but for the sake of this discussion, I think that's a beautiful depiction of what it looks like. And when you were speaking, I was thinking, right, speaking our truth, it's easier when we don't seek the approval of the other
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just giving myself the freedom to communicate in a loving manner what I perceive to be my truth. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that is like, you know what, I'm tired, I'm going to ask my husband to pick up the kids tonight from sports.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to give myself, I'm just exhausted, whatever it is, right? Instead of
Mm-hmm.
pushing through, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of sick and I'm still going to pick up the kids, I'm not going to ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Those are other examples of speaking the truth
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. And the more we practice that, the more we change that momentum, right? To
Mm-hmm.
really access what self-care looks like for us.
It was interesting because when I first started kind of really looking at this, what is my truth and what is true for me, I really had to get down to the core of even recognizing when I had to go to the bathroom. Like, really, truly, honestly, I need to go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna honor the fact that I need to go to the bathroom instead of standing in the kitchen dancing around trying to do dinner and getting it all ready. I'm gonna
Yes.
stop and say, my goodness, my body is telling me I need to go take a break, a
Can you
bathroom break.
imagine?
I'm gonna actually go do it.
Can you imagine? But this is so important, and that's why
Yeah.
I want to.
I mean, it's yeah.
It's that little. That's why I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
continue going deeper, because I think sometimes we think that oh, I'm working with Misty, for example, in my career, I'm working as far as like my eating habits, but it's really in the everyday little behaviors that we have. That's how life changes completely. Oh my gosh, so fascinating. But so I know that you offer free sessions, introductory sessions to get to know
Yeah.
each other, and you guys can get a lot of benefits from even just those introductory sessions, and there's no strings attached. She does it because she loves us, and she loves what she does, which is a testament of speaking your truth in your life. So thank you. So please take care up on it, and you never
You're
never know
welcome.
when you walk through that little door, you never know what you're going to see, and the other doors that may open for you. So Misty, please remind us where people can reach you at.
So the discovery session is available. It's a 45 minutes discovery session. It really is about finding more clarity on those stories that we were talking about. You know, what are the stories that we're telling ourselves that are keeping us stuck in the place that we don't want to be? And once we get more clarity on those stories, then when we can see them, we can write a different ending. So that's really what the discovery session is all about, is giving you more access to those stories so you can write a different ending. And those, you can find me on my website. You can contact me through Facebook or Instagram, Misty Springer Wellness. Go ahead and just message me and say, hey, would love to chat sometime. And we can set something up that works for your schedule and mine.
Yes. If you guys feel it in your heart, or if you're just the least curious, about these conversations, reach out. You have nothing to lose, like nothing to lose. You don't have to sign up for anything.
No.
And you'll be amazed sometimes, like the clarifications and ahas that comes from just those conversations. So thank you so much, Misty, and I can't wait for our next conversation.
Me as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.